The Windybrow Arts Centre, together with the Market Photo Workshop, are currently running a photographic exhibition titled Ihiya, Pieces, Particles, Perpetuity. Curated by Buyaphi Mdledle, Rolihlahla Mhlanga, alongside researcher Dr Olesegun Morakinyo, this body of work centers around the Faraday Muthi market and Kwamaimai by exploring the idea of using the market as a space of learning and teaching for visual storytellers. And to tell us more about this, we are now joined by the exhibition's co-curator, Buyaphi Mdledle, and Keitu Gwangwa, who is the head of, the head at the Windybrow Arts Centre. A very good morning to you too. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome.
Morning. Thank you.
All right, Keitu, I'm going to start with you. Talk to us about this exhibition and its relevance in being hosted at the Windybrow Arts Centre during this month.
I think it's valuable to explore the surrounding areas of the Windybrow Arts Centre and the people that form part of its identity. Using the space as a learning space, allowing young people to be curious about what are the things that we recognize as African within ourselves is very valuable. We have a different perspective from our young people today. They're far more curious, far more explorative, far more bold in approaching some of the subjects that we identify with that in some other areas we've always said are taboo. So it forms part of the very community that is in Hillbrow in space. So it's not very far away from us. Yeah. And we feel that it's relevant in that way.
Now, Buyaphi, let me also engage you. Do speak to us, if you can, about your role as the co-curator of this exhibition and the significance behind the title Ihiya.
Yeah, well, just to start from back, we worked with the 15 photographers overseeing the whole process of them engaging with their spirituality, and eventually this year that was in COVID time last year, and then this year it was decided that it was going to be an exhibition, and then we had to curate it. Rolihlahla, and it was not an easy process, of course, because it's a e-tombe that are coming from different stories. These are 15 individuals who had different spiritual experiences, if you like, given the history, country that has influenced it in the society in many ways. So they each bring a different voice, but we ended up at African spirituality because our departing point was in Kwamaimai and Faraday, but they still went and expressed themselves freely according to how individually Bonabas experience kanjani spirituality. Yeah, and we wanted to also make the exhibition as the show as accessible as possible in terms of, oftentimes African spirituality was kind of, it was expressed in ways that I would say, as I said, they're inaccessible, shocking, freakish. So the photographers gave an easy approach, and Nati, our approach was we accommodated that factor. I would let the show be accessible to the greater society.
Yeah, you just mentioned that the show or the exhibition centers on spirituality. So what does hosting such exhibition showcase at the center? What does that do then in terms of giving creatives platforms to showcase their talent, especially the young and upcoming ones?
As it gives them freedom, especially when they start to engaging their stories. Because of course the role of photography is the main role is to inform. Photography, abantu abaningi umhlaba wonke, that's how they get information. It's an almost number one informer. The visuals. So it gives them a great pleasure, it gives them satisfaction, it gives them influence about in terms of, because it shapes thinking as well. So the photographers were very pleased, and they were very pleased essentially with what they'd done. Of course, with all the questions as a photograph, it's not just being pleased and being pleasurable. You still have a lot to almost answer for. You oftentimes unsure of what you had done, because it's an ongoing process, especially inwardly.
Yeah, and I quite like that, as you mentioned, it shapes their thinking and it shapes their outlook and perception on so many things. Now, Keitu, speak to us about the participating photographers that are part of this exhibition.
Well, it was interesting in the opening last week to find out some of their experiences in how they engaged the work and their processes and how it unraveled themselves. They had to actually go deep into understanding the process in terms of capturing work that is sensitive and their relationship then with what would formerly be known as the subject, and just to realize that these are human beings that come with experiences. It was interesting to really see how they were influenced by the kind of steps they had to take to engage the Muthi market and have a greater understanding of the work itself. And how they are going into a space that has formerly been gone into, not necessarily respecting the people and their work, and that they have the opportunity to change that narrative and really frame how they do their work in a way that is fair. And it actually casts a light, a positive light, but also an opportunity for people to learn. And I think that that's really fundamental in the kind of value we want to put into the students and how they go and tell our stories. Going forward.
Just a quick one, Keitu. I mean, this exhibition forms part of a series of events hosted by the Windybrow Arts Centre in celebration of Africa Month. Tell us about your other Africa Month celebrations that the Centre is hosting in acknowledgement of this month.
Absolutely. Today we have a discussion called Unpacking the African Family, and it looks at what is essentially identified as the African family and what are young people bringing to building families today in what we've inherited both from our African and Western cultures. And what does that mean going forward in the kind of space that we live in today, all the different identities that we work with and all the changing elements that are surrounding us. So that's a very interesting conversation that's going to be streamed live on our Facebook page. And we're also having the African bow workshops for our young members. So please bring your children to come and learn how to make an African bow and play that a little bit. And we'll also be having next week on the 22nd a comedy show that is going to be emceed by Kagiso Lidiga. We're going to be having poets such as Lindy Johnson, such as Bra van Bay. So that's going to be very interesting. That's in different indigenous languages as well. And as closing on the 29th, we are having a performance that's headed by Big Zulu, and we'll have other bands like Angolan Roots that'll be performing in the space. So it's really quite a packed festival, and we're looking forward to seeing you guys there.
Great stuff. Sounds good. Keitu Gwangwa and Buyaphi Mdledle, great chatting to you too. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.